Welcome to Career Week at the Fulton Academy of Virtual Excellence. I am Tom, and we're going to have a fun time talking about aviation in the state of Georgia. Who amongst you might have guessed that aviation is our state's largest career field? We have about 250,000 Georgians making good paychecks and a good living, doing interesting and exciting work at places like Lockheed, where they build the C-130 cargo aircraft, and then down in Savannah, Georgia, you've got Gulfstream building the G650 and 700. Those are the most luxurious, longest ranged, and fastest business jets flown by sports stars, movie stars, all kinds of successful business people, CEOs, and even heads of state. And those jets are bringing people together. And that'll be the theme that I think you'll keep hearing throughout this career discussion, is our job is really bringing people together, whether you're building the jets that do it, maintaining them, or providing those services. Down at the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, we have 108,000 employees in jobs that you see like mine, and flight attendants and gate agents and customer service agents that help people get through the world's busiest airport. But also there's about 34,600 people that work in jobs that you probably haven't seen and may not be aware of. You got all kinds of software engineers, managers, analysts, economists. They've even got geologists that study volcanoes so that I don't fly through volcanic ash when I'm taking you down to South America. One of the biggest career fields that you probably don't see are the mechanics that work at our technical operations center and engine center, our engine shop, and I keep using superlatives. I apologize for that, but there's no other way to describe it. It's simply the world's most advanced, biggest engine shop. They build engines for Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney, General Electric. And then at the Technical Operations Center, they can basically repair and maintain any airplane or any airplane part. Even Air Force One comes down to Atlanta for its maintenance to keep it in tip-top shape. Those mechanics are good jobs. They'll earn between 70, 90, and then as they get more specialized into more technical aspects of aircraft repair, they can make $150,000, $170,000 a year. They get all the travel benefits that people in the travel industry get. But my primary area of focus today is going to be on being a pilot. So I'll put up a couple slides throughout to give you a little bit more detailed information on what we do and give you a path for how do you get from zero to hero, as we tend to say. So let's say you want to find yourself in command of one of these big, beautiful jets. Well, there's two paths that you can take. We'll call one the civilian route and one the military route. Starting now, you can study, get really good grades, apply to and get accepted at one of our nation's premier service academies. And by those, I'm talking about U.S. Naval Academy, U.S. Air Force Academy, West Point in the case of the Army, or even our Coast Guard has an excellent flight training program. The advantages to going this route is that college will be paid for by the U.S. taxpayer, be paid for by the government. Your flight training will be paid for by the government. So instead of paying a lot of money, you're actually going to be receiving a paycheck. The downside of serving our nation is that you have a time commitment, and you will be in the military for 8 to as many as 12 years, serving the time in exchange for the education and experience and capability that you've learned. You'll come out of this experience a very good pilot, well-trained, and you'll have an excellent resume, be very competitive for the airlines. The other route we'll talk about is the civilian route. I came up through the civilian route. Around Atlanta, there are several small airports, Peachtree, DeKalb, Fulton County, McCollum, and others that all have flight schools. And almost always you'll find people hanging out at the airport who are aviation enthusiasts and find folks that are eager to be your friend. These friendships are important because they'll result in you getting flight time and eventually jobs. Now, as a civilian, you're going to be paying for your own flight training, and it ain't cheap. Anyway, there are schools that'll take you from zero to hero in about 2 years for $150,000. They will take you through an ab initio, which means from the very beginning, student pilot, get you soloed, a private pilot's license, instrument pilot's license, then a commercial license, which the commercial is really fun to get. You do fun maneuvers. And then multi-engine rating, which is another even more fun certification to get. And eventually you'll end up as a multi-engine instrument instructor teaching students at the school that you attended. And that'll get you the experience to get to the magic 1,500 hours that you need to hold an airline transport pilot certificate. And then you can go get a job at a regional airline. Now, those regional airline jobs pay pretty well these days. They start between $70,000 and $90,000, and you can make up to $250,000 to $300,000 as you gain seniority, become a captain, and maybe even do some line check airmen or instructing work for them. So it'll pay you back. But if you don't have access to that kind of money, I'm going to tell you a hack. We've all gone through very standardized formal training programs to be professional pilots. But as you start out, there's absolutely nothing that requires you to go through one of these really expensive training programs. You can literally buy the books and study and learn now. If you're really interested in this stuff, learn all you can. When I was a kid, my parents couldn't get me off of Microsoft Flight Simulator. They said, "Oh, you're just wasting your time. Oh, you need to get off the screens, you kids." Well, guess what I do for a living now? All of that knowledge and experience helps you because there's two parts to every aviation certification exam. There's a knowledge portion and a practical portion. So the written test is oftentimes the knowledge portion of your examination. You can get the books and study for that. You sit down with an instructor for a little bit, you just make sure that you know the very basics of what you need to know to actually be qualified to take the test. So figure an hour or two. And then you can go sit for the test and you've only got the cost of your books and the examination fee, and you've gotten half the battle won. Then, whenever you go and fly the practical stuff and you get in an airplane with an actual instructor, that really expensive time that costs $250, $270 an hour or more, you already know it. So you're learning so much faster and you can demonstrate things so much quicker and you can be so much more efficient with your time. And you can bite this off in little chunks. So you can become a private pilot. Right now they have full immersion schools for $17,000, but I only had about half of that into my training because remember those friends at the airport? As soon as we got our pilot's license, we started flying around everywhere. We would take our friends to the beach. We just had a grand time. We would buy old airplanes, fix them up. Sometimes we'd make a little bit of money when we sold them. We'd use that money to buy an airplane that was faster or had two engines. Multi-engine time is really valuable, or better avionics to get up to the next level of certification. And whenever I found my first job, it was because a friend that I'd been a partner with in an airplane called me up and said, "Hey, Tom, this place is hiring." And that was my very first airline job. So day in the life, if you've watched this far, you might be curious what it's like just being a professional airline pilot. Everything is done in a seniority-based system. Whenever you're on a trip, the company owns your time. They basically dictate when you eat, when you sleep. A lot of people want to travel at night, so you end up flying airplanes all night long and then trying to sleep during the day. The biggest struggle in professional flying, in my view, is ensuring that you're alert and sharp, and that means getting rest. So you've got to be very disciplined about going to bed and getting your sleep and being sharp the next day because you have to have excellent situational awareness. You got to be able to catch errors, and whether you make them or it's somebody else, this is very much a cooperate and graduate sort of career. And one valuable thing I learned is whenever somebody corrects you when you've made a mistake, the best thing to say to them is thank you. That communicates that you understand that you did something wrong, that something needs to be fixed, and that you appreciate a chance to do it better. This is a career where, especially nowadays with AI, we are fed so much data on our performance, and we can constantly, every day, work at getting a little bit better, getting a little bit more efficiency out of the jet, finding ways to better connect our passengers and bring them together. I get to go to places where you go on vacation. That's what I do for work. Maybe I'll post a couple of pictures up here of Montego Bay, which is where I've been bidding during the winter time. And typically you're flying with people that you really, really enjoy. I fly for a company that does a fantastic job of recruiting and selecting just the very best people in this profession. And we go and have a great time. You're basically with your friends doing something you very much enjoy doing. And the pay is good. We start our pilots somewhere around $90,000 to $130,000 a year. Some of our most senior international captains can easily top $600,000 a year. And if you really work your schedule, and like I said, it's all seniority. It's all based on how long you've been there and how many people ahead of you have either retired or moved on to other things. Might be a couple of guys that make over $1 million a year doing this. And for doing something that you would do anyway, because it's just fun to get out and fly these airplanes. It's something I've loved doing since I was a child. And someday, whenever I retire, I'll probably go out and fly some more. Thanks for watching.